leprechaun in a green suit, hunting for a pot of gold, guarding a bowl of oats and marshmallow horseshoes, shamrocks, and rainbows. It is Ireland reduced to a breakfast mascot, and it is about as Irish as a strip mall. Lucky Charms was invented in 1964 by General Mills, headquartered in Minneapolis. The story goes that a product developer named John Holohan was fooling around at home, cutting up circus peanut marshmallows, those orange banana-flavored things, and dropping the pieces into a bowl of Cheerios. He tasted it and realized the combination of crunchy oat cereal and soft, sweet marshmallow was genuinely fun to eat. General Mills took that idea, swapped in oat pieces and brightly colored marshmallow shapes, and needed a hook to sell it. They reached for the friendliest, most marketable national costume they could think of: a leprechaun. Lucky the leprechaun, forever chasing his cereal, forever telling children it was magically delicious. There is nothing about the recipe, the ingredients, or the origin that has anything to do with Ireland. The leprechaun is pure packaging, a scrap of Irish folklore borrowed to sell marshmallow cereal to American kids. And it worked spectacularly. Ireland gave the world its leprechauns. Minnesota put one on a cereal box and sold him back to the world. Food number 5, the Reuben. Every March, the Reuben appears on the specials board of every Irish pub in America, right next to the corned beef and cabbage, wrapped in a little green flag of assumed heritage. Grilled corned beef, melted Swiss cheese, tangy sauerkraut, and Russian dressing pressed between 2 slices of rye. And because it is built on corned beef, and because America has decided that corned beef itself is Irish, the Reuben gets swept up in the whole holiday. It is not Irish. It is not even close. The Reuben is a thoroughly American sandwich, and it comes with one of the great unresolved origin arguments in food history. The most widely cited story places it in Omaha, Nebraska in the 1920s. A wholesale grocer named Reuben Kulikowski was part of a regular late-night poker game at the Blackstone Hotel, and the story goes that he threw this combination together as a hearty snack for the players. The hotel's owner liked it so much he put it on the menu and named it after him. The rival claim comes from New York City, where a restaurateur named Arnold Reuben, who ran a famous Broadway delicatessen, insisted he invented it years earlier for a hungry actress. Nobody has ever fully settled it. The paper trail is thin, the witnesses are long gone, and both camps defend their version with total conviction. But notice what both stories have in common: Nebraska and New York, a poker game and a deli. There is not a single thread connecting this sandwich to Ireland. It is a Jewish deli creation with a German cheese, Eastern European sauerkraut, and an American dressing. The only reason anyone files it under Irish is that it contains corned beef. And by now, you know exactly how Irish corned beef really is. Food number 6, Irish potatoes. This one is going to confuse people twice over. First, because most of America has never heard of it. And second, because it contains no potato and comes from no part of Ireland. Irish potato candy is a Philadelphia institution. Every spring, candy shops and supermarkets across the city fill their cases with little lumpy, cinnamon-dusted balls that look, if you squint, exactly like tiny new potatoes fresh out of the ground. Bite into one, and there is no potato at all. What you get is a sweet, dense coconut cream center, usually made from cream cheese, butter, powdered sugar, vanilla, and shredded coconut, rolled in ground cinnamon to give it that convincing, earthy potato skin. So where does the name come from? It is a joke, and a bit of immigrant pride rolled together. The potato is the single most loaded symbol in Irish history. The crop whose failure caused the famine that drove millions to America in the first place. Irish-American confectioners in Philadelphia, sometime in the early 20th century, made a little candy shaped like the very thing their families had once starved for, and served it up, sweet and harmless, every St. Patrick's Day. There is something quietly moving about that. Taking the potato, the object of so much loss, and turning it into a treat you hand to a child. The candy is deeply, specifically Philadelphian. You will find it in Pennsylvania and almost nowhere else, and you will certainly not find it in Ireland, where the idea of a coconut sweet named after a potato would be met with total bewilderment. Irish potatoes are not Irish, and they are not potatoes, and that is exactly what makes them one of the most perfectly Irish-American foods on this whole list. Food number 7, the Shamrock Shake. If you have ever queued at a McDonald's drive-thru in March for a cup of cold, bright green, mint-flavored milkshake, you have taken part in a ritual that is about as Irish as a Big Mac. The Shamrock Shake first appeared on McDonald's menus in 1967, created by a McDonald's operator named Hal Rosen. Green, minty, sweet, and timed perfectly to arrive every year around St. Patrick's Day, it wrapped a milkshake in a shamrock and a nod to Ireland, and sold it by the millions. There is nothing Irish in the cup. It is mint syrup, vanilla soft serve, and green food coloring. But the marketing was pure Emerald Isle. And here is the part of the story that genuinely deserves respect. In the early 1970s, a Philadelphia Eagles player named Fred Hill had a young daughter fighting leukemia, and Hill had seen families sleeping in hospital waiting rooms because they had nowhere to stay while their children were treated. McDonald's got involved, and to help fund the very first house where those families could stay for free, the company directed proceeds from Shamrock Shake sales toward the cause. That first house opened in Philadelphia in 1974. It was called the Ronald McDonald House. A fake Irish novelty milkshake helped fund the beginning of one of the largest children's charities in the world. So no, the Shamrock Shake is not Irish. It never was. It is a green milkshake invented by an American franchisee to sell more product in March. But it is also proof of something this channel keeps running into. The most commercial, most invented, most cynical-looking foods often have a story underneath them that is far stranger and far kinder than anyone expects. Food number 8, Irish nachos. Here is a dish whose very name is a contradiction, and once you notice it, you cannot unsee it. Nachos, as we covered in another episode, are a Mexican-American invention from the Texas border. So Irish nachos are, by definition, an Irish twist on a Tex-Mex snack that Ireland had absolutely nothing to do with. It is a fusion of two cuisines, neither of which is actually Irish. The dish itself is straightforward and glorious. Take everything you would pile onto a plate of nachos: melted cheese, bacon, sour cream, jalapenos, sometimes chili or scallions. But instead of tortilla chips, you build it all on a bed of sliced or waffled potatoes. That is the entire Irish part, the potato. Swap the corn chip for the potato, and suddenly a plate of nachos is wearing a green hat. Irish nachos are a creation of American pubs and sports bars, and while nobody can pin down a single inventor, the concept spread through American bar menus in the late 20th century as a way to give the enormously popular nacho a novelty spin. Some claim it started in a Texas Irish pub. Others credit various American taverns. What everyone agrees on is that it did not come from Ireland. And it is a perfect little illustration of how this whole phenomenon works. Americans have decided that the potato equals Ireland. Never mind that the potato itself is originally from the Andes in South America, cultivated by indigenous Peruvians thousands of years before it ever reached an Irish field. So you take an Andean vegetable, put it under a Mexican-American snack, serve it in an American bar, and call the whole thing Irish. It is a globe-spanning misunderstanding on a single plate. And honestly, it is delicious, so nobody complains. Food number 9, the Irish car bomb. I want to handle this one carefully because the name is genuinely tasteless, and a lot of Irish people find it offensive for reasons that have nothing to do with food. But it belongs on this list because it is one of the most literally Irish-branded drinks in American bars, and it was 100% invented in the United States. The drink is a bit of theater. You pour a half pint of Guinness, the Irish stout. Then you take a shot glass, layer Irish cream and Irish whiskey inside it, drop the whole shot into the Guinness, and drink the entire thing down fast before the cream curdles and turns the pint into something unpleasant. Every ingredient in it is Irish: Guinness, Bailey's, Jameson, but the drink itself, the ritual, the bomb drop, is not. It was invented in 1979 in Norwich, Connecticut, at a place called Wilson's Saloon, by a bartender named Charles Burke Cronin Oat. He was messing about with Irish cream, first as a shot on its own, then dropping it into a pint of stout, and the combination stuck. The name, referencing the car bombings of the Troubles in Northern Ireland, is exactly as insensitive as it sounds, and plenty of pubs today refuse to serve it or quietly call it something else. But that is the point, in a strange way. The Irish car bomb takes 3 of Ireland's most famous exports, combines them in a way no Irish bartender ever did, gives the result a name that horrifies actual Irish people, and sells it to Americans as an authentic Irish experience. Irish ingredients, American attitude, and a name that should probably be retired. Connecticut built it, Ireland has been wincing at it ever since. Food number 10, green beer. And we end where every American St. Patrick's Day seems to end, with a pint of beer dyed an unnatural, almost radioactive shade of green, raised in a crowded bar somewhere very far from Ireland. Green beer feels like it must be some ancient Celtic tradition. It is not. It is a documented American invention with a specific date and a specific, faintly ridiculous inventor. In 1914, in the Bronx, New York, a coroner's physician named Dr. Thomas Hayes Curtin unveiled green beer at a St. Patrick's Day celebration at a social club. And his method of turning the beer green was genuinely alarming by modern standards. He used a drop of a laundry additive called wash blue, an iron powder used to whiten clothing, which, added to yellow beer, produced a vivid green. People drank it. Nobody, apparently, was harmed, and a tradition was born. Today we use food coloring instead of laundry chemicals, which is a clear improvement, but the principle is exactly the same. A few drops of dye into a pale lager, and you have the centerpiece of an American St. Patrick's Day. In Ireland, dyeing your beer green is seen as a slightly baffling American eccentricity. The pint does not need improving, and the idea of ruining a good beer with food coloring to prove how Irish you are is, itself, one of the most American things imaginable. And that brings us right back to where we started, because green beer is the whole story of this list in a single glass. An American invention, dressed in Irish colors, sold as heritage, celebrating a country that most of the people drinking it have never actually set foot in. 10 foods, 10 drinks, 10 small acts of invention, and not one of them born on Irish soil. Corned beef and cabbage from the tenements of New York, sweet soda bread from American bakeries, Irish coffee perfected in San Francisco, a leprechaun on a cereal box in Minnesota, a sandwich argued over in Omaha, a coconut candy from Philadelphia shaped like the crop that caused a famine, a green milkshake that helped build a children's charity, nachos on a bed of Andean potatoes, a tasteless cocktail from Connecticut, and a pint of beer turned green with what was basically laundry powder. Here is what I want you to take away from all of it, and it is not that Irish Americans got anything wrong. Quite the opposite. Think about what actually happened here. A people were driven off their own island by starvation and poverty. They arrived somewhere strange and cold and often hostile, with nothing but their memories and their hunger. And out of that, out of the gap between the Ireland they remembered and the America they were standing in, they built an entire cuisine. They took a cheap cut of brisket from a Jewish butcher and made it a symbol. They took a plain loaf and sweetened it. They took a national costume and a national vegetable and a national drink and reassembled them into something new. That is not fake Irish food. It is Irish American food, and it is every bit as real and every bit as heartfelt as the original. It is just a different chapter. Being from a place and longing for a place are two very different things, and almost everything on this list was born from the longing.
I'm David, this is Food Origins, and if this changed the way you see your next St. Patrick's Day, hit that like button and subscribe, because we have got dozens more stories exactly like this one waiting for you. And tell me in the comments, which of these 10 surprised you the most? I have a feeling the corned beef one is going to start some arguments. And honestly, good.